Good evening mga kalaro and welcome to the Council of Titos, the show on the Laro-Laro channel that talks about a different kind of game. The reality TV game show and social experiment that has run for 25 years. Survivor. I'm Chief Bisdak, Joe Parcon, and with me as always is Juxtapo-tito, Joe Atienza. What's up, Joe? How are you doing?
Well, I didn't know that I needed counciloftitos.com
Mm-hmm.
URL, your domain name in my life, but apparently I do.
And
Counciloftitos.com.
yeah,
Yeah.
counciloftitos.com. Visit it whenever you can. And you'll see there are a couple of stuff that we have, and what's something that the one that necessitated that Zhao get that domain name. Yeah. Anyway, tonight we are going to give our thoughts about season 48, episode 9, entitled Welcome to the Party. But before we begin, do consider hitting the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you get updated whenever we come up with new episodes on this channel. Also, if you're getting us on the podcast from counciloftitos.com, yeah, you can always please give us a like or 5 stars so that we just know that we get 5 stars. And so,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's go ahead and begin.
All right.
Oh yeah, welcome
Sorry.
to the party.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway, just talking about that, we're not really in this for the monetary reasons, not yet, or I don't know if we ever will be. But yeah, we just want a 5 star just so that we know that we got 5 stars. Right?
Yeah. Eventually we're gonna have a Patreon, but that's like, once we start
Yeah,
getting millions of viewers or millions
yeah.
of listeners.
Mhm.
Right now, the tens of you that are listening, you can play the Survivor Bingo game.
Yep.
Yeah. Hmm.
We have to come up with a video soon where you'll have to instruct our viewers how to, or our listeners how to play the Survivor Bingo, right? And we are going
Yeah,
to
that
start using that for season 49.
yeah, that way people can all say like I don't have that on my bingo card.
Yeah, we can go on our comments. Anyway, going. Speaking of that, we'll wait for that party. But for now, we are going to this episode. Welcome to the party. What are your initial thoughts? How did you feel about this episode?
Um my I feel like my big like fear with the season is kind of coming true,
Mm-hmm.
where the back half of the season isn't living up to the front half of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like thinking we were wondering if in the new era we can have three great seasons in a row. Uh here's hoping that they nail the landing.
Mm-hmm.
But like right now, the back half is better than or rather, the front half is
The
better than
front
the
end.
back half.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which could speak to the strength of the first half of the season, or the weakness of the back half of the
The back.
season.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it, but last episode I felt that it wasn't as strong as the previous episodes, and then also the same thing here. I don't really have a lot of things to say about it. That's why I actually resorted to watching the exit interview of David for the first time this season. I
Oh,
wanted
oh,
to
that
check
guy.
the exit interviews of season of David. Um,
I
I
have
don't
thoughts on
know.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ask for your thoughts later. But yeah, for my thoughts, I don't know if it was him sour graping. Most likely is. There's a huge part of it that's that. But um, it my biggest thought is, can CBS actually come after him for effectively sort of spoiling some things in the season? Because in the interview he was like, "I told you." He had like he was short of saying "I told you" to Joe and Eva. And I'm like, isn't that sort of like giving it away that Joe and Eva aren't gonna be in the season for long?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's one of those. It's just one of I had two in a row,
Hmm.
two seasons in a row where we have like potential spoilers in the exit interviews.
Hmm.
Future survivors, please don't do that, man. I like the exit press. It gives a lot of like really good insight into the episode. But yeah, fairly weak episode, I think.
Mm.
Um, I don't know what it was about it, but
Was
nothing
it
special. I don't
was
think.
it because it was already like sort of telegraphed from the previous episode that something like this was going to happen, or is that just how poor 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 TV that strong group alliance was?
But that's the thing, though. Like with David leaving the game,
Mhm.
getting voted out, like I feel like it has opened up the game a lot more now,
True, that's true.
and that should make me feel a certain way.
Mm,
Like I should be like, yeah, let's go. This is gonna be like a great, like exciting rest of the season or whatever. But I didn't feel that.
mm,
I'm not
mm,
sure. I'm not sure why or how to sort of explain it. Um, but that's it. I didn't feel, I think, how I should have felt with the game opening up.
mm. Could it be because they have? I mean, the game has opened up, but it seems that the people that we should be rooting for, it's hard to root for anyone in the first place because, I mean, Joe and Eva, they're, I mean, despite the fact that they are, yeah, they're supposed to be on the top of the food chain, but given the dynamics after David, that might have been to their detriment, voting him out, because now, because things have opened up, the power structure has been shaken up. We're not quite sure if they're really still on top of the food chain, right?
That's the thing. It's supposed to feel exciting, but I
Yeah,
don't feel excited. I don't know what it is.
maybe
I
it's
don't.
also because the guys who inherited the power, we don't really want to. There isn't enough material from the previous episodes to make
Maybe.
us want to root for them. Because who's on the bottom? You've got Star, Mitch, Camilla, right? Those are the three who are
Yeah.
on the outs, right? And then
Yeah.
Mary is now back down there.
You know what? Maybe it's a me problem. It might
Hmm.
just be a me
No,
problem.
it's not just a you problem because that's also how I feel. It's like there's no one aside from the fact that Joe has been my winner pick from the start. There's no one who there's no one to really root for. I
Mm.
don't feel any. I want anyone to really win. It, can it be the case of the game being too wide open? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well, because it could just be because Mary was knocked down a peg, and I don't like that. Well,
Yeah,
because like,
but
but
yeah.
then if we like listening back to some of our earlier episodes from the season, like I'm also quite high on Camilla.
Hmm.
I've been quite
Yeah.
high on the Kyle Camilla. I've been down high on Kyle and Camilla, but at the
Yeah.
same time down with the
You're
Kyle and
down with
Camilla
them.
train.
Yeah.
Right?
You're high on, but you're down with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just because the front half of the season was just
Yeah. That had such
yeah
a. I mean, of course, capped by that moment, right? Mm. The
yeah
moment between two people who are still in the game, who were until this last episode were supposed to be on top of the game. I don't know if they're yeah we really don't know. I mean, because especially in the next time on we saw how the bottom four are supposed to be uh, pooling together to try and take out Joe. Right? But yes, I don't know. It could it also be the fact that Joe isn't really as honest and loyal as he says he has to be. I mean, we did see sort of a heel turn from David, but we're sort of also seeing a heel turn from Joe. He's not like what character because he was labeled as the Rock, but I don't know if he's really the Rock. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the Rock did do a heel turn too.
So maybe it's just what the inconsistent characterization
Hmm.
of like our castaways for the past couple of seasons. I don't know. It feels a bit like what's it as well in a way. It feels like 40 41,
Hmm.
right? 41 having the greatest winner of all time notwithstanding. The season was kind of lopsided as well, right? Like the front half of the season was like memorable. It was like,
Mm.
whoa, you know, freaking like JD has left a mark on my soul, you know. And sort of the back half of the season was kind of meh, you know.
Mm. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I really don't really have a lot to talk about. I have three things that I want to talk about.
Well,
So yeah, that was the first thing. The first thing was about David, right? The David thing. Uh, and that he was trying to do at the very least in the episode, he was trying to. I mean, it was pointed out by Kyle, I think, that he was trying to do a Boston Rob, or was it
mm,
Shaheen? It was Shaheen. You know, he was trying to do a Boston Rob, but I don't know if he had enough social savvy to be able to actually pull that off. And because he's not an all star that everyone's just looking up to, right? Because that was part of what Boston Rob was able to pull off. That's why he was able to pull that off because he was an all star. He was Boston Rob, and then everyone else were super fans. They believed everything that Boston Rob, the Rob father, right?
if anybody can pull off something like that in this season, it is probably going to be Camilla. Like I feel like Camilla has like right now I think the best strategist, like the
Mm-hmm.
player with the best strategy sort of game right now are Shaheen and Camilla.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I'm actually thinking more about Shaheen. I mean, I like the fact that we have sort of a, a what do you call this? A callback to what he was actually doing, right? The seeds that
Yeah.
he was planting, and we didn't really that didn't come out in the previous episodes. It's just that when he says that okay, the seeds that I was starting to plant before are now I've actually been working on for the past 5 days or something, right? And we're starting to see that, and it did yield something good for him. I mean, David did get voted out, right?
Yeah. You know what I found so funny though? Um about like Shaheen and this goes back to like Kyle and Camilla as well. It was really funny that like David were playing around Shaheen potentially having an idol.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're like,
And
yeah,
now
Shaheen has
it's like become canon. It's like become canon for everyone.
and
Just
it
like
you know it damn near got Camilla voted out.
yeah, yeah. It was so weird. That was also one of the things that I did not get about the logic of David. It was Camilla who told him that Shaheen potentially has an idol, and he probably knew that that was because Camilla wanted Shaheen out, right? She wanted the idol flushed out, and then all of a sudden, in his head, he sees that they make eyes at each other, and they partner up for that one challenge, and all of a sudden, they're working together. They're gonna play the idol for Camilla. And it's the leaps and bounds that David's paranoia uh, made in order for him to come up with that thing. I mean, he was right on the fact that Shaheen and Kyle were dangerous. Yes, we'll give him that. But the rest, I don't. He was way off.
You know what
Yeah.
I find interesting about David because like I think he was right about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the macro level, right? This goes to like some of his exit press. One thing that really stood out to me was when he said people say Survivor is hard. It's actually quite easy. When he said that on Rob Has a Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um like yes, kind of figuring it out is easy. The difficult part is executing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're it's like it's easy if you assume a spherical cow, right? Like if we use like that old like physics joke. Um but then you have to start talking about the social game and it gets into all this game theory stuff. So yeah, it is simple, but then being right in Survivor isn't enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't only what you're saying, but how you're saying it. And I think that was David's biggest problem once he stopped um once he stopped being portrayed as the adorable, like, four nippled, I love rom-coms guy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
once he uh once he was getting into Jonathan Young running out of food sort of territory, and he was
Mm.
becoming a little bit grumpier. Um, his sort of uh, while he might have been correct about things, the way he was saying these things and the way he was showing how he arrived at those things were um, detrimental to his game,
Mm.
shall we say? Because he wasn't wrong about, you know, Strong Guys Alliance, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't wrong about it, but you know, last episode it was like, yeah, they got rid of the lady with the big mouth. Now they got rid of the guy with the big mouth.
So does it pay to be quiet in this season of Survivor? I mean, it has paid off in previous seasons, but is that also the
Yeah,
case here? So who would that be? Camilla. Camilla's kept quiet for the most part.
yeah. I
Right?
think given, you know, given Camilla's experience, or given Camilla's um being able to find Kyle, it
Mm-hmm.
works out quite well. Like, they sort of fill um the holes that the other one has.
Yeah.
Because that's the favorite movie, right? Holes. Um,
Yeah. And
so
yeah, I
so
mean,
yeah,
Kyle said it. Like he's good at social. Camilla's good at strategic. Right? And that's basically right now in the new era. That's basically what you really need. You
yeah.
need social in order to get by, for people not to vote you out. You need strategic in order to figure out who to vote out. Right?
Yeah. So what we're saying is that this particular season and the whole, like, strong, however many they are,
Mm. Well, the
alliance,
strong
strong,
five now,
yeah,
or strong
strong.
four, because Mary's out.
Let's say strong X, right? Because
Okay,
the strong X alliance, where X can be four, five, three. I don't know. It might even just be
might
like
even choose
Joe and
Joe and
Eva at
Eva.
this point. Right. So, um, so what we're saying is, uh, in a way, this particular season is a referendum on whether or not we as a fan base think that there is equal weight on the physical, social, and strategic sides of the game.
Well, if we go by what the evidence of the past 40 plus seasons, 47 seasons, it being a physical threat, it has a lot of weight at the start, right?
Yeah,
It gets your tribe by, it gets you to the next phase of the game. But in the end, and this has been even more evident in the new era, social and strategic, in particular social, has really been a huge factor,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
if you're able to make, even in Australian Survivor, as long as you're able to make your jury laugh,
yeah,
you've got a leg up on the competition,
yeah,
right? I mean, that's
yeah,
how a jungle rat was able to win Australian Survivor.
yeah.
And then on the other side, he had the well, he was, I mean, his competition was also strategic, but he just wasn't able to connect with the jury, right? I mean, and that's also, I think, why we kind of like the idea of the strong X alliance, because they were trying to pioneer something, right?
Mm,
Where the supposed meat shields were banding together and they were dominating even in post merge. the phase of the game when the meat shields were going to get picked off one by one, right? Because the social and the strategic players were coming into play, right?
Do you think that's even possible? No? Like this is that might be like one of the sort of themes of this season. Like, is it at all possible for the meat shields to make it to change the perception
That's what they were
who the
trying to
meat
do.
shields do? Like,
Yeah, but
I mean,
but
but the
yeah.
thing was with David though,
Mm,
and that's the I know, and that's the problem I guess with David. Going back to how it is not so much what he's saying, but how
mm-hmm,
he was saying it, because like the meat shields, in order to kind of survive as meat shields, shouldn't be so brazen,
mm,
right? Like like meat shields should lay low, or at
mm-hmm,
least that's kind of how, you know, it's traditionally done, right? If a meat shield wants to get far, if a super strategic player wants to get far, their best bet is to lie low.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, you know, that could
But
be
how can you lie low from being like a super strong guy, right? I mean, your muscles are bulging out. It's like what David's during that challenge. I mean,
yeah, you know, I
maybe
don't
not win every challenge, maybe not get to
yeah,
the showdown every challenge.
yeah. Throw a couple challenges here and there. Yeah.
Hmm. That would mean that you're a little bit more strategic, right?
Yeah. I think Joe in a way has been able to lay low,
Hmm.
you know, as a as one of the meat shields, but then maybe he was just using David as a meat shield, which makes me
That's
fear
true.
for Joe.
But I also think that he's got Eva as a sort of shield because Eva is the more out there character between the two of them, right? And
Mm,
Joe is like the okay, I'm gonna stay back. I'm gonna stay back. I'm gonna talk to people in private, right? He's not really the one who tries to steer the conversation. Remember, he's I don't think he ever steered a conversation of the Strong X group of the Strong X alliance, right?
that's true.
So I don't know. And then Eva's the one out of necessity because she loves everyone, and that she's such a sweet summer child in that sense.
Yeah.
She wants all her friends to get along, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
so she's
Oh.
been the more out there.
The other thing that is kind of sad for, or was kind of rough for Joe and Eva, is that David is right.
Hmm.
David was right, and it was in their best interest to keep him.
Yeah, yeah. Taking him out, they're now in much bigger danger than if he had stayed. I mean, if they had not, if they had taken Camilla out without knowing it, they actually would have gotten to at the very least final five.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question: what did you think of Eva's advantage? Should she have gone
Mm.
for the third stage of that um game? Game?
The to get the
Game?
actual yeah the yeah to get the actual idol prepared. She's got safety without power, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
She got power
yeah,
by saying that she doesn't have power.
yeah.
What's his name
Well,
pointed it out? What was that? Steve Fishback pointed it out, right? Like on the thing, it says like, "Congratulations, you have power in this game.
mhm.
You have a safety without power." I don't know.
Sometimes the way that these production people word things. Well, in my head, in a way, safety without power is almost like an immunity either anyway, right?
Yeah,
Although you have to declare it earlier, right? Right before Jeff says time to vote, you go, I'm gonna eat, right? So
Yeah.
it's sort of like an immunity idol that way. So I think that the risk reward there, it was a 1 in 3 shot. You already have something that's similar to an immunity idol. The only difference would be uh, that you can actually use the immunity idol later on to try and do a blindside, right?
Mm.
After the votes have been cast. But at the very least, you can take yourself out. You can get yourself further in the game with the safety without power.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that she was okay, not going to the third step because she already has one. She already has an immunity idol. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Although I will say that that safety without power in the position that they're in right now,
Mm.
not exactly the best advantage to have because we are closing in on the end game where um every vote kind of counts.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And by making herself immune but piecing out,
Mm-hmm.
that is um putting that is basically signing Joe's death warrant.
Yeah. Well, not unless Joe has an immunity necklace.
That's true.
Right? Well, that's gonna be the best case scenario for them. Joe goes on an immunity run or a couple of immunity runs so that Eva can use her immunity her safety without power for the first night, and then she can use her immunity idol for the second night. There's how many of them left? There's 8. It takes them to 6. Okay, that's still too far. But anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. But that is predicated on Joe winning immunity. Um hmm, I don't know.
Because as we did see on next time on, although I don't really put a lot of weight on it, as it has proven to be a red herring several times already. And you pointed that out. Yeah, Joe is supposedly the target of the next vote from the bottom 4.
Yep. Joe.
Joe.
Joe. That guy's so cool. Like the way he's
Yeah.
playing. He plays with like that sort of silent kind of like how do you call it? With that dad kind of authority.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about? What's your take? Did Joe go back on his word? Was David correct? Did Joe go back on his word?
Hmm. Well, I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, right? It doesn't really matter whether or not Joe went back on his word
Mm,
because that was the nail in David's coffin.
mm.
Like not being able to read that you never say that to Joe.
Although
So
in his exit press, he did say that he actually said it because he knows how important it is to Joe. Right? And
yeah,
he was reading the reaction of Joe.
yeah. See what I mean? Like Survivor stuff. Survivor stuff. Um, it's easy, but then it's tough, right? Because like you know, you don't communicate that to Joe by saying that, like, bro, you went back on your word. You
Mm.
know. But as to whether or not he actually like did, it's kind of like Hoboken Mike, right? Like
Mhm. Mm.
um, in his it's a perception thing, right? In his head, it becomes sort of morally quote unquote justifiable to turn your back on somebody when they turn their back on you, something like that.
Mm.
And so I think that's where Joe was kind of coming from
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
in a manner of speaking. Um, but you know what? Just for the sake of continuity, I'm going to say no. No, he didn't go back on his word because if he did actually go back on his word,
Mhm.
then David wouldn't have been voted out. I'm just going by story logic,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, which is horrible logic on my part. Um, But it's called plot armor logic, right?
They
Like
needed
whether
Joe and Eva to get further a little bit more.
yeah, so therefore, like right or wrong, he's right, which means which means no, he didn't go back on his word.
Oh yeah, Joe. But one thing about Joe is he does have a good read on things, right? Especially on that the when Shaheen, cupped his face as he said, "Cups my face, whispers in my ear about Eva heading out somewhere," and then he was like, "No, I'm not even gonna ask her. She's just gonna go ahead and tell me." He has such a good read on the kid that he knows that she's gonna tell him anyway.
Yeah. But
Uh,
I have thoughts on Shaheen doing that, man. Um,
on telling Joe, why did he tell Joe? Why didn't he tell like Kyle?
well, first off, I take issue with him doing that in the middle of the night. Like that.
What
That's
cupping the head of Joe like
yeah,
that?
like imagine, you're out there, like this is potentially a traumatic experience going through Survivor. You're kind of, you're hungry. There is like no light at all, right? Like they all of these newfangled cameras that they use,
Mm-hmm.
uh, give us the impression that there's like a lot of light there, but like really no, there
No.
barely is any light. Like those things can operate with like the faintest of moonlight. So it's basically pitch black. It's the middle of the night. You're tired. You're hungry. You're probably not getting enough sleep. Um, and all of a sudden, you have this guy coming over to you, cupping your face. I mean, like it feels. It's like those people that talk about having like sleep paralysis when they
Mm-hmm.
like wake up in the middle of the night and they feel like they're stuck in their body, they can't move, they can't do anything, and like for whatever reason, like they're just there stuck in their own, and that's what I would imagine it'd be feeling like somebody goes up to you, like puts pressure on your face, you try to
Uh-huh.
stand up but you can't.
Yeah.
That's like That's like being violated by a succubus or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I don't know. So I wouldn't. I take issue with Shaheen doing that in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And why Joe specifically? If he really wanted to, he could have like told everybody. You know,
Mm.
told everybody like light a fire. He'd be like, yo, everybody, Eva's gone. I bet she has an advantage. And then when she comes back, like, oof, yeah, yeah. Why Joe specifically?
I
Well,
yeah,
I see what he was trying to
actually
do
kind
though.
of why? What was he trying to put a wedge in between Joe and Eva? That was
I
probably it,
assume,
right?
yeah, I assume that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Kind of like what he had been doing with David.
Mm-hmm.
If the flashbacks are to be believed, like he was trying to pull that same sort of thing. Um, if they had saved the flashback thing for a few episodes down the road, if and when Joe gets voted out, um, I'd still like him to go up against Eva in Fire and see how that goes.
Mm.
So but if he does get voted out, and it was Shaheen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do the whole flashback thing. That's where the flashback would have been, and it would have flashed back to this moment in particular. But that would be kind of scary, right? Like you know, I've been planting the seeds to
I've
or
been
rather,
planting
if
these
Eva
seeds.
had gone home, sorry, not Joe, if Eva
Mm.
had gone home, um, look at that, I'm seeing them as one entity. Um, if Eva goes home and it was like Shaheen's doing, this would have been one of the things that they flash back to.
Mm-hmm.
Although that does seem more like a horror movie than it would like a nice reality show. It flashes back to him like, oh,
Funny that you mentioned horror because actually, I was a lot of the things that happened in this episode. the paranoia of David slowly increasing, and then you've got that whole episode with that whole moment with Shaheen cupping the head of Joe, and then even Joe's the way that Joe was describing what Shaheen was doing. Like you have this guy with a full beard suddenly looking down on you and then cupping your head, right? And then you also have that moment as soon as Eva was walking away, suddenly see a shadowy figure from the back, right? A
Yeah,
lot of the elements of this episode could have made it into like a horror themed episode, right?
yeah.
And
I
all
was
in order
thinking
to
about
increase the tension of David's paranoia, right?
yeah, yeah. So I was just thinking like horror because the latest Doctor Who episode had a lot of like horror elements too. But now that you mention it, like yeah, that's absolutely true, huh? Like when David gets voted out, um, there is an unsettling feeling as though he wants to like stab somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Even especially after, I mean, after he lost that immunity challenge, he was
yeah,
broken. He was like, he was so defeated. He was so defeated. And I think that, yeah, you're right. It got to the point where even as soon as he knew that he was getting voted out, he had that look in his eyes. He had that look in his eyes, man.
yeah, yeah. It's sort of like I I said last episode or 2 episodes ago that like David has become Gaston, right?
Uh-huh.
Like for this particular episode, he was becoming like Jason Voorhees or something.
Man, that was yeah. I took a note of that. He was particularly destroyed. I think that I don't know. Maybe it's the lack of milk, uh, uh, lack of calcium. Does that do something to you? Increases your paranoia. I don't know. Yeah.
But like watch his what's it again? Watch his vote out again. Listen to the music and what the music
Hmm.
does, right?
Exactly. It seems as if they didn't lean too hard into it. The whole horror suspense thing. They could have. They had. I think that they had enough material in this episode
Yeah,
to
they
come up with
they
a suspense thing.
yeah. Well, I don't know. They should have gotten John Carpenter to like do the episode or Sam Raimi or something.
Mm.
You know.
Mm. John Carpenter. So is he gonna be the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I that yeah, we talked about in previous episodes how we were giving the production their flowers. This one also I had another moment where I really liked the sudden change, the sudden shift. You mentioned their night vision cameras, and then here we had the night vision cameras suddenly switching to pretty well lit vision.
Yeah, no,
Right?
that was really cool. I found that really cool. I the flowers are all the way over there.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, again, production doing some good work here in this episode.
yeah. Not as good as not as good as previous episodes,
Yeah.
but still up there. And I think that's kind of the the seasons in a nutshell so far.
Mm,
It's like we are we're cruising at this point, right?
kinda, kinda.
And it's
We're
we're
not
just
really seeing anything too interesting, nothing too
yeah,
good. Star hasn't had star quality in a while. I mean, we did get the explanation why she doesn't do water challenges.
yeah. We got to see a really cool uh what's his name moment? PE teacher. We got to see a really cool PE teacher
Mitch.
moment. Mitch being a PE teacher, like yeah,
Yeah.
that. What do his kids call him? Coach G.
Coach G.
Yeah, Coach G. Like yeah, Yeah, Coach G remind me of like my PE teacher in high school. Very sort of supportive and like you
Mhm.
can you can do this.
Mhm.
Sort of saying like you incompetent fat child, you can do this.
Well, the one thing I question about the way what Mitch was teaching Star though is why did he teach her the breaststroke first before freestyle, right? I don't know.
Be-
I when I was taught swimming, freestyle was the first thing I learned.
same here, but I feel like the breaststroke is more natural.
Really, I always had well. My difficulty wasn't because of the hand strokes, but it was more because of the frog kick. Because you had to do frog kicks along with the breaststroke, right? That was it, right? That was that stroke.
Yeah, it's the you're
The question mark, and then you're pulling also with you're pushing also with your legs.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah, that's breaststroke. Yeah, but like I feel like that is the more sort of natural sort of throw a child in the water,
Mm-hmm.
or throw somebody that doesn't really swim like in the water. They're probably going to default to some sort of for the people that are just listening to us on Spotify. I look like
Jao
I'm
was just
freaking out,
flailing.
like "Rah!" flail, basically, right? That's what it is. It's flailing. You're
Mm-hmm.
flailing in the water, and sort of the breaststroke is controlling that flailing.
Mm. As opposed to a dog paddle, right? Dog paddle, the one goes like that.
Yeah,
Here we are talking about swimming. Yes, but I
we are
yeah.
from we are from the Philippines. I believe that every person in this country has to know how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we are islands.
I mean, especially in Cebu, where Jao is, and where we are both from, right? So it's we're not that far from beaches, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like everybody has, even people up in Manila, I think, need to know how to swim. This is the thing that like
Why? Because of
absolutely
all of
blew
the
my mind.
floods.
Well, the thing that absolutely blew my mind is if you look at Manila,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Pasig River doesn't have a source.
Mm.
Like the Pasig River is just like this thing that cuts across Luzon,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that cuts straight through Metro Manila. It's like from sea to sea, so it doesn't like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't come from like
A
some mountain up there.
mountain
Like
top.
that's
Yeah.
that's the Marikina River. But
Mm-hmm.
like the Pasig River bifurcates Manila. And if all of those bridges go down, you're gonna have to swim across the
Yeah.
Pasig River, bro.
Yeah.
So like, if that Guadalupe bridge goes down and
Mm-hmm.
the new one that connects like that Yumak area to there's
Yeah.
that new
Yeah.
bridge there as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if those bridges go down, like
People are gonna have to learn to swim.
you're gonna have to learn how to swim at least across the Pasig River.
Yeah, here we are talking about swimming. Well, yeah, good for Star. Getting lessons from Mitch.
And she had a cool tribal council moment where she like
Hmm.
translated where she
Mary.
translated Mary. He put me in the jury.
Sorry,
Actually,
not Mary.
the
Camilla. Camilla. She translated Camilla.
yeah, sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
Camilla.
yeah. My bad, my bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
translated very well. Yeah,
and so yeah, we have that little bit of spark from Star, but she hasn't been getting a lot of screen time for the past couple of episodes. I don't know if it's because she hasn't. I don't know. She's lost all agency. I mean, she didn't have a lot of agency in the last episode because she lost the vote. And then in this episode, it seems that no one wants to play with her except for David, who apparently was planning on playing with her. And now that David's gone, right?
yeah. So Star is the ultimate free agent, which can be a really
Mm-hmm.
good thing or a really bad thing
Yeah.
for a person in that position. And here we are again, where um it can be one of two extremes. It's either like yes or no, a good thing or a bad thing. So I don't know. I don't know. Miss I missed the star from a couple of episodes
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. I mean, she was the star at even preseason and even the opening, the first episode, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she just does not. Her stock has dropped several times already, and we need to the star to rise again.
yeah. Kind of like when Trump announced the tariffs, it's like
Mm.
crash, and then he was like, "Yo, now would be a good time to buy stocks." Haha, insider trading, ha ha ha. And he says like, "All right, 90 days, no tariffs," and all of a sudden it shoots up,
Shoots up.
and then it steadily falls again.
Mm.
That's star.
That star. That star's
Star
game
is
right
the
now.
S&P 500 since Trump took office.
Oh gosh. So well, we'll see where Star lands.
Yeah.
Moving forward, it seems that she's now in a stronger group, the Outcasts, right?
Mm,
Yeah, her, Mitch, Mary, and Camilla. And Camilla has that secret connection with Kyle. Kyle and Shaheen, who are not really banking as much on their strength more than their strategy and
yeah.
social game. Yeah.
So I guess now that David is gone
Mm.
from the game, it becomes okay to root for Joe and Eva again, huh?
Why was it hard for it? Because they were in that strong alliance,
Yeah, because
the
they were the
strongest
strong
alliance.
alliance, the
Yeah.
majority that was, just about ready to pagong everybody
Mm-hmm.
else. So,
Yeah.
so it became kind of tough to root for them.
Because they were, yeah. But now that they're in the more or less, yeah, they're in the bottom right now.
Yeah,
They'll have to fight their way up, and that's when we get that fall on your sword moment from Joe to save Eva, the one that you wanted, right?
yeah. I still think it should be in fire, but all right.
Yeah. So yeah, that might that. Well, here's hoping that that happens. Here's hoping that that
Yeah,
happens. Well, here's hoping that they do get to the final two against all odds. Honesty and loyalty still prevails, right?
yeah. Go on, man. I still maintain though, like there is a place for honesty and loyalty, but within your alliance.
Mm. And I think that's what that was the reasoning of David, right? That was the reasoning he said he gave in his exit interview
Yeah,
that you can have to be honest and loyal to your alliance, but you can lie the hell to everyone else,
yeah.
right?
Like giving that's how I tried to interpret what David was saying throughout the season
Mm,
when he was talking about, well, David, Joe, and all of them, when talking about like honesty and loyalty and all of that sort of thing, giving the most sort of charitable interpretation of what they were saying.
mm,
Um, Honesty and loyalty in the game of Survivor is honesty and loyalty to your alliance. Like that's
mm,
the most charitable interpretation of what they were saying. Something I'm trying to do lately. I'm trying
yeah,
to, like in life,
yeah,
whenever somebody says something that I think is stupid, just like slow down and be like, wait, what's the most charitable interpretation
mm,
of this? Like assume, don't assume the worst of somebody. Because, like, the internet has taught us to be not charitable. It has
mm.
taught us to be violent. It has taught us to hate people that aren't like us. So, you know,
It
yeah,
comes with age, man. It comes with age. I've passed that. I've gotten to that point as well several years ago. It becomes such a task to choose violence every time, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
become such a you, yeah. You just be charitable to people, right?
yeah. Instead of this person doesn't know what he's talking about. Well,
Yeah.
maybe if you take into consideration their definition of a particular word, you kind of understand where they're coming
Mhm.
from. You know? I don't know. All
And
this
that,
is
ladies and
to,
gentlemen, are Titos giving you some wisdom about life.
yeah, yeah. You wore the right shirt for this.
Yeah, because this is Joe, and well, yeah, the Grogu is somewhere down in my. You had that Grogu doll somewhere before. There you go.
There we go. Just to sort of complete it, there we go. There
There you
is
are.
Grogu.
So yeah, so you got Din Djarin and Grogu. Yeah,
Yep. And just for fun, Pikachu.
yeah.
Pikachu on top of Grogu.
What's that Pikachu's wearing? What costume is that?
The This is the flight attendant one or the pilot one from Narita Airport, from
Oh,
the Tokyo Airport. Yeah, the what's it has the so some of the Pokemon stores have like exclusive Pikachu plushies. So this is the one from the Narita Airport. I have like the Tokyo Station one over there as well.
that's
Yeah.
cute. That's cute.
During our Tokyo trip, that was like the one thing that we had to do. We're going to get the exclusive Pikachu plushies.
Anyway, so
So
any other thoughts about the episode?
uh let me check my notes. Um from the lady with the big mouth to the gentleman with the big mouth
Mhm.
after yeah after being voted out, it felt like David wanted to kill somebody. Jason Voorhees. That's yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay. Yeah, for an episode we didn't really have that much to talk about. We still talked about it a lot. uh,
Is
yeah, so I
that not
guess
what we do here?
yes, that is what we do. We go off on tangents and we end up talking about a whole lot of other stuff, but we still get back on track.
And somehow we end up with like Grogu and Pikachu.
All right, let's go to survivors of the week. First, we've got the castaway of the week. Who do you have for castaway of the week?
Who do I have as castaway of the week? It's probably uh Joe or Eva.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Why do you say so?
because Joe won immunity
Mhm.
and Eva got her safety without power.
Uh, okay.
So
All right.
I guess I'm gonna say Joe.
Mhm. Because that was a little more, and he got it from the jaws of the feet,
Yeah,
pun
basically.
intended, because he
Yeah.
because like Jeff started calling him the jaw.
What because he whether whether he realized it or not, he was the one that took David out. So
Hmm. Oh, so for you, yeah, well, yeah, because of also what that exchange between him and David, he watched the before. Yeah. For me, I'm gonna go a little sneakier. My castaway of the week is Shaheen,
mm,
especially because of what we saw, right? The fact that the reveal that he had been planting seeds
yeah,
against David, right? And for me, you said it's Joe because yes, Joe was the final nail in the coffin for David, but for me, it was Shaheen who put the first nail in, right?
mm,
He was the unseen hand of the whole, making sure that everyone started doubting David. I mean,
yeah,
David didn't do himself any favors for the way that he was acting, but yeah, Shaheen for me planted those seeds and got this hope. So that's why he's my castaway.
okay.
Let's go to the week. Who do you have as go to the week?
Joe.
Oh wow.
The reason I have him is both because yeah, I want to try to get to see if I can get him if it's plausible for me to get both right. Um, because now that David is gone, he has a huge target on his back.
Yeah, yeah.
So like this wasn't a good episode for him in that in that sense. So simultaneously a really good episode for Joe, but at the same time, like not that great an episode for him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do see your point there. For me, it's more of Mary. She was
Yeah.
the goat of the week. She lost the most here. Well, not really the most, but one of those who yeah, she was on top, and then all of a sudden, she lost her only connection to the Strong X group, which really isn't uh, much there anymore. Yeah, so she's back at the bottom, and I am not really quite sure if next time on is going to amount to anything. Right?
Hmm.
That might be some talk, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Purple of the week.
I just realized something, right? Because I was thinking for the purple of the week, and I guess this is going to be my purple of the week: the significant others of Mary and David, because there was that line from what's his name
Kyle,
from Kyle talking about how you know he basically he he basically said that they were
a showman's.
getting frisky. I don't know, like, but um, I was gonna say yeah, they're significant others, but then the fact that we know that they have significant others
Mhm.
is a testament. Well, not a
Well, is
testament.
it a
It's,
fact? Does David really have a significant other?
I mean, they made reference to it, and so up until so within the universe of the show, it's canon,
Uh-huh.
and we also have reference
Yeah,
to
to
Mary's
Mary's boyfriend.
boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
Because she's hugging him on that
Hmm.
that pole
Hmm.
thing, whatever. So yeah, okay, fine. There, that's that's the that's the purple of the week, kind of, you know, or I, 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 I don't know, Shaheen's bedside manner.
Shaheen's proprietor being appropriate.
Yes.
Well, for me, you had the same Castaway of the Week and Goat of the Week in Joe. For me, I have the same Goat of the Week and Purple of the Week. Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah, because outside of that strong X powwow, she hardly had anything on the episode. There is also a
Mm,
case for Star and Mitch, but they did have that nice moment where Mitch was teaching Star how to swim.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but my consideration now is the fact that Mary didn't have anything strong for the past couple of episodes. Wait, she did have that. I will stand up and say that it has to be Camilla. Is this production hiding her so that she comes out later as a stronger contender? Especially now that the power structure has flipped. Despite the fact that she went on the bottom, but if next time on is the lead, the bottom is actually going to be on top.
Yeah. Could be. I just realized we said that she was like the Yoko Ono of the group, right? Because there's also like there's also like um that idea out there that David was uh under Mary. That Mary
Mm-hmm.
was the one calling the shots when
Mm-hmm.
it came to David's gameplay, right? Like, you know, again, like going back to the pairs, you have the one social one, the one that's like out there, and then the other one that's sort of wheeling and dealing in the back, or the one that's kind of doing all of the strategy stuff. So that would be like Camilla in the
Yeah.
case of Camilla and Kyle. Kyle being the outgoing one, Camilla being the thinker in the background doing the strategic stuff. We already talked about Joe and Eva.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Mary was kind of like that for David, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember seeing a post somewhere where they had a shot of Mary doing this, and it was like she's like it was like the
Puppeteering
puppeting. Yeah, yeah,
David.
yeah. So she's the Yoko Ono of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, it just I just realized that when you talked about like
Her hiding.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, I was doing everything.
yeah, Yoko Ono.
Yoko Ono. All right, let's go to what it should have been.
Mm.
This was, I
Um,
mean, for all intents and purposes, welcome to the party. Especially the way that Shaheen delivered it was a pretty good title for the episode,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it showed how he has actually been playing Survivor long before David started catching on.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Um. So for me, uh, I want all my friends to be friends.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice.
I want all my friends to be friends. That was yeah. Or
Yeah.
Survivor. Here we go. Like I don't know how to I don't know how we would write that out. So I
Mhm.
suppose yeah, I want all my friends to be friends.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, mine is actually a little yeah, it's from the portion of Star. You put me over there, you ain't getting my vote. But yours is better. Yours is better. I want my friends to be friends. That's such a nice. And yeah, I mean the fact that it came out from Eva makes it all the
Yeah.
more adorable. She's such again sweet summer child.
Yeah, when you said Sweet Summer Child, that's why I reacted. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my what it should have been."
Anyway, all right. Anything else to say about this episode? Anything to
Uh,
say moving? What do you think is gonna happen next?
yeah, I fear for I actually fear for Eva.
Hmm, more than Joe. I mean, in
Yeah,
the next time on, it seems as if they were targeting Joe.
yeah, yeah. But I fear for Eva.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Because she.
Reality game
Mhm.
players have this weird uh they have this weird like instinct to vote out the people close to the actual threat.
Mm. Hmm.
Like, you know, there's like girl logic, there's boy logic, and there's like reality show logic.
You don't go for the head of snake, the head of the snake. You go for the neck of the snake, wherever that is.
Yeah. Somebody is, somebody there standing tall that's an obvious threat. You don't
Hmm.
cut their head off, you cut off their hand,
Hmm. There you go. Yeah. Oh, so yeah. So that's true. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So again, next time on might most likely is a red herring. So yeah, you might be right. They might go for Eva instead because Kyle and Shaheen might go off and say, "But you need to go for Eva. She's got this. She's got the idol, and she's got the safety without power. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's take those two out with one fell swoop."
Yeah. And like moving forward, I think whoever gets the credit for taking out Joe wins the
Mm,
season.
mm. Right now, he is the biggest dragon.
Yeah, like he's in the Jesse Lopez position in a way, where whoever gets credit for taking out Joe is probably going to win the season. Hmm.
Well, if that happens in fire between Joe and Eva, are you saying that he's going to win?
Yeah,
Mm.
I think if Eva makes it to final tribal,
Yeah,
she has a great shot at winning.
yeah. And then, I mean, yeah, because that means that she'll have to not just take out the dragon, but she'll have to take out her closest ally. That's such a good story already. Right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, her actual story. Right? She just wanted her friends to be friends. They fought
Yeah.
against each other.
Yep. So if Eva makes it to the end, she wins the season, and whoever takes out Joe takes the takes the season.
So we
Fearless
will.
predictions or famous last words.
We will keep an eye out on them. And that's it for tonight's episode. We would greatly appreciate it if you hit the like button so we don't get voted off the channel. At any rate, this has been Joel Parcon,
Titos.com.
counciloftitos.com. Counciloftitos.com. We hope to see you on the Council
Slash
of
Survivor Bingo.
Titos.
If
There
you
you go.
don't want to
If you,
if you don't
yeah.
want to get the links to like our specials, to the podcast and stuff,
Mhm.
just go to counciltitos.com
Dot com.
slash Survivor Bingo,
We'll,
and
we'll have it here. We'll have it here. We'll show it up here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
still a bit of a work in progress. Want to do because right now the bingo board is like for the whole season, right? Because it
Mhm.
makes reference to like final tribal and stuff. I want to do one that's like per episode, but
Oh.
for like yeah, just remove some of the entries, just
Mhm.
those that are applicable to a single episode.
Per
So
episode. Yeah.
the because like one of them is like
Fire,
one of
something
them
relating to
is
fire.
yeah something to do with fire. There's something that if there's an auction, then
Mm.
you get to mark your square. But yeah, those won't work for like a single episode. So I'll try to
So
do
so wait,
that.
so how do they do it? So they go on Survivor. Sorry, Survivor.com.
And apply
Counciloftitos.com
now. Sorry.
slash and apply now. Counciloftitos.com slash Survivor Bingo. And then they're gonna come up. They're gonna get their own bingo card, right?
Yeah.
And they'll have the code. The code is gonna be seen. They're gonna see the code of what they're for their bingo card, so that they can refer to it again and again when they visit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So just Survivor Bingo, right under that board number.
Mm,
And that number is if you want to load it again later on, that's just sort of like your seed.
yeah.
Or you can just, copy the entire link. You can just copy the link there
Mm,
because the link already incorporates the
the
board number.
board number. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or
if
you
you
can just
get,
like save it as a PDF. We can print it, right? Print and then you just
yeah,
save it as a PDF.
yeah,
Yeah. And
just
if
for
anybody has any
funsies.
suggestions for like items to put on a Survivor bingo card, like the comments are open.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead
They're
and comment down below.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, even on the podcast they can comment, right?
Yeah,
Right? Is
on
there a way for them?
Spotify.
Yeah, yeah,
On
yeah.
Spotify.
Just comment.
I'm not sure about Apple Podcasts. I
No.
haven't I haven't really like dug around Apple
Mm,
Podcasts very much
yeah.
because,
Yeah.
Apple.
Apple. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, just go ahead, check out councilofpeops.com slash survivor bingo and get your bingo survivor bingo card now. And for the show for Council of Peoples, we are going to start working using it for Survivor 49.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Or, maybe we can start next episode.
Oh, if you can come up with like an episode
Yeah. Or
bingo
for the
card.
rest of the season, right? For
Yeah,
the, well, we'll see. We'll talk
we'll
about
see.
it.
Yeah, we'll talk
We'll talk
about it.
about it next episode. Something for everybody that's listening to look forward to.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing with that.
Well, anyway, until then,
Stupid weekend project.
until then, stay safe mga kalaro. The Titos have spoken.